Back again with about 15 minutes left. Honestly, there was a guy over there that was, I just felt kind of uncomfortable just talking about this when I was going by. It's just, some guy walking out here, and it's getting almost very dark. You probably can barely even see. I guess you can see pretty well. I'm looking ahead. But I just felt kind of like a weirdo just talking about all this on my cell phone. So I guess that insecurity can get the best of me at times. But moving on. So it's very pleasant tonight. Just I love these walks, just going out. And I could be walking by myself as usual and not doing these, but I figure I can get, I can do two things at once. I can get exercise, I can walk, get out in nature, get fresh air, and talk about valuable topics. And helping the world in even a small way, just getting this out to enough people where it can change some people, and who knows, some people might listen to this, months or even years down the road, and so, I may not get a lot of followers initially, but, who knows what could happen down the road, and I'm just working on my conversation skills and how I think about things. There's a lot of benefits to it, so I really do this a lot for myself. I just find it beneficial for myself, and then I just put it out there to the world. See, that's sort of one of the keys, I think, to success is just doing it, not trying to have a certain outcome, not doing it because only if you have this amount of followers or this amount of praise or validation or approval. You're coming from the wrong place if you're doing it for those reasons. If you need like praise or being admired by people and stuff, if it comes on its own and you get some benefits from that, great. Like for example, I remember, maybe a year and a half ago, I was at the mall, and there was this group of young guys. I think there was one that came up to me and he said, "Hey, you're really good. You're a good singer," or something like that. And even honestly, at that time, I wasn't, in my opinion, really a great singer. I was okay. I definitely had some issues singing a key. And I'm not tone deaf. I'm just making a little joke about this. Some girl sort of made this derogatory comment. She's like, "Are you tone deaf?" And it's like, no, I'm not tone deaf. I mean, I was talking about how I'm singing key better. And if you're a singer, you know what I mean. You don't have to be tone deaf to not sing in key, because the reality is most singers are not singing in key, even if they think they are. That's what I believe anyway. And a lot of singers that are singing in key, they're out there in professional records that you might listen to on Spotify, and they're having professional help to sing in key, or software is doing it for them that they're using when they're recording the product with expensive software or something like that that's editing the voice and whatnot. So, I'm not going to claim it's easy to sing in key all the time. And if you're not singing in key, it's not necessarily because you're tone deaf either. I'm just going to put that out there. But I know I'm going off topic here. See, I'm just being a natural. It's like, so ironically enough, by talking about that, I'm giving, a good advice about relationships, because I'm just being a natural. Be natural. Like, this is really where you can get to the point where you can be yourself. That classic old age advice that is the most commonly given, be yourself. This is when it applies, because ironically enough, when you shed all the layers of all your insecurities and your stuck patterns that are interfering with your life, your distorted beliefs and all this kind of stuff, then you can be yourself, because you are being yourself. You're coming from your authentic place instead of this place where you're layered over by distortions, and that obviously is not being yourself, because that's not the real you that really is underneath all of that hunk of junk. And a lot of people are going to have so much junk that's covering their real self that they actually think they're actually being themselves, because it's actually unconscious. And one of the big problems I see is people coming from a place and operating with so on autopilot. They've been operating these. You could say the programs are controlling them instead of you being able to control yourself. And if these unconscious programs are controlling you and calling the shots, then that right there, you're coming from the wrong place. If I had to call it coming from the so-called wrong place, it's just a way of putting it. And I don't want you to get all bent out of shape and be like, damn it, I'm coming from the wrong place, and I'm in a relationship and it's all going to come down, and oh, this is terrible, and now I'm going to panic. Well, if you're in a relationship, you can save it. because you don't have to fall into that statistic of it probably ending, or if you get married, or probably getting divorced. It's just, I don't think it's good for people to go into a long-term committed relationship or a marriage thinking that you're not going to be the statistic. Everyone thinks it's never going to happen to them, right? Everyone thinks, well, all the bad stuff's going to happen to someone else because I don't deserve that. Why do I deserve bad things to happen to me? Blah, 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 blah. But the irony is that, we're not necessarily here to have a perfect ride. We're not necessarily here to have all our ideal expectations met and to be living in complete comfort and deluding ourselves about chaos out there in the world and thinking, oh, that's just, I'm just not going to think about that. That doesn't exist to me, blah, 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 blah. I create my own reality, so in my reality, that's not real. Well, creating a reality is not about deluding yourself. It's about, being honest about yourself and what's going on. But then it's true that you create your reality to a degree, but it doesn't mean that you go and delude yourself about what's really happening out there in the world. It may not affect you in a lot of ways, in some ways, but in a lot of ways it is. And you don't want to give your power away to these programs running you when in reality, that's actually not, that's a disservice to mankind. It's a disservice to yourself. And you have this one life. And so what are you going to do with it, Are you going to be just another one that walk down the common path where you're just sort of acting sort of like a robot, where you're just doing what's popular and trendy and to fit in with everyone else, and you're not thinking outside the box, and you're just settling for whatever seems good enough, and so forth and so on. And you're just going to put up your whatever, like your bathing suit pictures on Instagram, and that's really it. I mean, it's like, I'll be physically attracted to girls doing that, but then where's the pictures of themselves showing what they really love to do? Where's the singing? Where's the playing an instrument? I'm not trying to put anyone down, but if there's a girl out there that's doing nothing but selfies, and it just seems to lack some substance to me. I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with it, but it's not exactly the most attractive thing to me. And I don't care if the girl has like 1 billion followers and tons of compliments to her pictures or swimsuit pictures or whatever. It's still not good enough for me. I'm not going to 100% judge someone who's doing that, but just like a woman who needs to evaluate a man because she doesn't have the time to get to know every guy that could like her to evaluate if it's worth her time, she's going to just assume certain things, for her own sense of having a life and for her own, time investment. I'm also going to, evaluate girls and the ones that, for me, because a girl will be sort of marrying back a lot of how I am, but the more I can see a girl who not only, is concerned about her fitness and her health and looking good, because, people who really have their inner act together are going to look good on the outside, generally speaking. Some people have conditions or whatever, or they just don't care, or they think they're healthy like that, and I know there's exceptions, but generally speaking, people who have their inner work together are going to be, they're probably going to be working out and exercising and, looking good. It's not that they need to get people's approval, but they look good for themselves. They just want to be confident. If you're really confident, then you're gonna probably want to look good on the outside. It's just natural, So outside of that, if a girl is showing that she has some, interest in meditating, doing some shadow work, or she's into some, more like fringe topics, and sort of a true seeker, she's thinking outside the box. Maybe she has some things that talk about, inspiring comments or, philosophical or spiritual type of things, and if she's singing or playing some instruments, or putting up some artwork and stuff like that, that shows a lot more substance to me as a human being, because I think we all have art in us. It's like we don't want to, we don't want to be dying or die with our music in us or our art in us. If we have inspiration from within, even if you just want to go out and do walks and talks like this, get out in nature and inspire people with, with good insights, then, I mean, don't hold any of it in. Why hold back? I mean, why just show the world basically how good you can look, and that's kind of it? Because if that's kind of what you're saying, that's all you have to offer. Hey, I have good looks, I might have a decent personality, but that's really it. And I mean, I'm just saying that we're all evaluating the worth that someone brings to the table to us before we get into a relationship or want to talk or date someone. And you know, I'm not going to be very fussy in the beginning, but as time goes on, you know, I'm going to be more likely to pick a long-term partner with someone who has those kind of traits that I mentioned than someone who really is just sort of comfortable in looking good and being fit and sort of just living their job but never really growing outside too much of that. They're overly settled, and that's it. You know, I mean, it's going to be kind of boring to me. And I want to grow with people spiritually. You know, I want to transcend as much, you know, shadow aspects and blocks in myself, patterns, because it takes years, really. I mean, it's a lifelong, you know, adventure doing all that kind of work, and it never ends. So I'm really only interested long term with people who are kind of thinking the same and doing the same to some degree. So let's see, I might only have about 3 minutes left. So what else could I say, you know? Sometimes just, you know, some moments of silence will fill in the gaps. And silence is there we go, another good insight about relationships. You know, don't be worried about cramming your time with someone with never-ending topics and feeling like there can't be those so-called awkward silences. Instead of calling it awkward silence, it's called a good silence. The silence can be a good thing. There's a lot you can, if you're just get in a moment with someone and just kind of communicate on a non-verbal level. I mean, that's a form of communication in and of itself, is it not? You always have to be like blabbing on and on. In fact, that can kind of start sounding very insecure. Like you got to overly impress someone with your talking skills, or like, you know, what you've accomplished in life and bragging and all that stuff. I mean, obviously that's just going to come across very insecure to people. Again, once you have your inner stuff worked on, I would say, you know, as long as you have some common sense, it doesn't really matter what you do or don't do, or do say or don't say, because it's like people are going to be magnetically attracted to that. It's like they get a sense of, you know, with their intuition about your soul, about your energy, about your vibrations and frequencies. We want to get down to sort of a quantum or like a physics level about all this stuff. Like, we're all made of energy, and people can kind of get a sense of you. They can feel you. The more in tune they are with themselves, the more they're going to be more sort of psychically in tune, the more their third eye is opened. And I'm just saying that when two people like that come together, people who are doing lots of deep inner work on themselves, their third eyes are both open, they have a high level of intuition, and they're really, you know, more connected to their spirit than their ego, and they've transcended all these lower aspects. I'm really just going to finish it with this, because I got about 2 minutes left. So this is what it all boils down to, folks, with relationships. Is, again, it comes down to yourself first. Be the change you want to see in the world. Do unto others as you want done to yourself. Stop separating yourself with people with endless corrupt programs and worried about, you know, if you're going to talk to them because they support this candidate or this political party, or they're on this side or that side, or, I mean, if they have this religion or this spiritual belief or non-belief or whatever, is, you know, cast all that aside. You know, look at how someone is from the inside and how it gets reflected on the outside too. Because people who really have, again, in my opinion, who have their inner work handled will also reflect. They'll be glowing on the outside. They're going to be very attractive. You're going to have a glow about them, and a natural smile, and sort of equality. Their aura is going to really be very attractive, and you're going to feel good in their presence. You're not going to feel repulsed at all, or whatever. So just make it about the person. Don't make it about, you know, their beliefs, or because beliefs can change anytime. Someone's even religious viewpoint, their political viewpoint, you know, which they say don't talk about those things in the beginning, but that's sort of a problem with me, because that says that if you really are true about where you stand, then that means you could lose someone. If you support this candidate or this president, whatever, that's enough reason for a girl to not go out with you. I mean, I find that that's ludicrous. There's a big problem with society if that's how it is. If that a girl is going to base her decision on you on that alone. If it's either a yes or a no. I mean, and girls out there who are doing that, well, just realize that you're giving your power away to a corrupt